Hey, everybody. We are so excited to see you. Welcome back to Splintered Grace. I hope you remember me. My name is Tina Frank, and I'm a mature Christian woman. And my co host needs no introduction.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I've missed you. I'm Bonnie Violet, and I'm a transgender queer drag queen. And I'm also, I don't know, we were trying to think of new identifiers, and I'm like, what else?
Oh, I didn't do that either. I'm
I know,
sorry.
what else am I?
Awesome.
A resident of San Francisco? I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
How about you?
Oh, sure. Throw it back at me since I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm actually a grandma.
Oh, all
Not
right.
everyone knows that about me. I am a grandma.
There we go.
I'm glad not everybody knows that about me. Just saying.
Well, now we do. Now they
everybody
do.
the secret's out.
Now it's public knowledge. Look out.
I know.
I wanted to acknowledge that you may be watching us on YouTube or Facebook. We stream live every Monday now at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and now also on Twitch. And if you happen to be listening to us via audio of a podcast, we upload our podcast within the hour after we stream our live stream. And then we also upload to Instagram if you're interested in that, all at Splintered Grace or A Queer Chaplain.
That's a lot to say. It's like, oh, you need to have a break halfway through that statement.
I know, right? Catch our breath.
Awesome. So I have to be honest, I didn't even know what Twitch was. And so I had to go out and Google it. So yay.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it until this shelter in place, COVID thing, because I mean, it's really for like a lot of gamers, at least that's my perception. It's like gamers, but a lot of drag shows had to kind of move to Twitch in order to kind of continue happening. So,
oh, that's awesome. So that would be a positive thing that happened from COVID?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's made, I think totally. Yes. One good thing. Yeah.
I'll have to go check it out.
I think it's made drag definitely a lot more accessible to where more people can see it who maybe couldn't see it because they're like in rural areas or, they don't have a place to go check it out.
That is cool. Yeah. There are so many platforms I have no idea about. I guess that's the grandma showing in me. My grandkids once in a while say, "Grandma, can you do this?" I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
So that's funny.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel that way too. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit in the know, but there's still like, she don't have a TikTok.
There you go. I don't have a TikTok either. Still not sure what that is either. Although I've seen a few people now with it. I'm like, wait a second. It says Facebook, but it also says TikTok. So I have no idea. So Thank goodness you're in control of the technology.
Right.
So, hey, what have you been up to since we all got together?
I know. What have I not been up to?
Oh, okay. There's got to be some good stuff here.
I haven't been in big crowds.
Oh, that's a good thing.
We can say that.
I have not either.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot has taken place since we met last.
Yeah. Gosh, when was that? Last December? November?
Yeah, I think our last episode was like the first week of December.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
I think that was right. Yeah. So Christmas happened and the New Year. My Christmas sucked, but my New Year was better. How about you?
I don't want to say sucked. Christmas was different. It wasn't bad. It was just different. Some of the, you get family and friends together, and I'm blessed. I live close to all my girls. But some of our extra friends didn't get to participate just because we all wanted to be safe and we didn't want to overcrowd any spaces. And, we wanted to be responsible. And we're not big on New Year's as a family. The girls all do their stuff on New Year's with their friends or whatever they do. So I'm not sure what they did, but my honey and I stayed in and we had a wonderful New Year's. We watched the ball drop Pacific Standard Time and went to bed early. It was wonderful.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. For Christmas, I just say that it sucked because I sat at home and felt sad for myself all day, which wasn't cute, but that's what I did. By the end of the night, I kind of, I spoke at a recovery meeting and that felt better. And then I opened up, but then when it came to New Year's, then I was like, girl, don't do a repeat.
Doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it was a choice, I could have I could have made some effort to at least connect with a couple of people or done something. But, sometimes I feel like you just have to go through some of that, some of those feelings and that experience in order to kind of like
Why?
move on. Huh?
Why? Why do you feel like you have to do that?
I don't know
I
if
mean,
you have
you could be right, but
to.
I'm thinking, why would you think you have to? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I hope I
I
don't
think
have to.
I think those sorts of situations, and I like that idea that why would it have to happen like that, right? Because
Yeah.
but I feel like that's been my process for a long time. It's like when those moments happen, that's when I actually take some time and I reflect and I feel what I
That's
need to
good.
feel. Because I think a lot of the times I try to run away from those feelings or those thoughts or those experiences, and so I think I start to see what I'm missing,
I
out on.
gotcha. Okay, so that's cool because what you're describing now is you've taken this negative and turned it into an opportunity to choose something that's going to benefit who you are, right?
Right. Hi,
Yeah.
Rick. It's great to see you too.
Hey, Rick, welcome
Thanks for
back.
joining us. Yes. Yeah. Um,
Well, that's I know we got off track. So, well, I'm glad you were able to not do that again on New Year's. It's life's too short to I don't know. I mean, you have times where you're just going to be alone. I have times when I'm
mhm.
just by myself, and they're not always fun times. But I think you can hit it. We need to choose to be positive in those moments. Or one thing I found is I don't get enough quiet in my life sometimes.
Mm,
And sometimes in those moments, you can have enough quiet that you can actually work through some stuff. So I think that's good wisdom. That's awesome.
yeah. I was such a baby though. I just like pouted.
Oh,
I was like,
oh,
nah. I feel lonely and I
sorry.
could call somebody and I could do these things, but I'm not. Like, I'm just gonna be a
So,
brat.
but you should have
I
called me
don't
because Christmas Day we didn't do much because we do all of ours on Christmas Eve. So Christmas Day, I'm like, well, the Harkins is closed, so because we usually go to the movies.
Mhm.
So we just did our own thing here and watched a movie together on the sofa like we do, every other night. But it
Right.
was fine.
Yeah. It was a choice. It was a choice I made for sure.
Oh, well, just next time, just know you have my phone number.
Yeah. I did something cute this weekend that you're not
Oh,
aware of. And I wasn't trying
okay,
to
am
keep
I
it.
going to be embarrassed or what?
No, no, not at all. I think you're going to think it's sweet or great. But I got an opportunity to participate in a name blessing where I was
Oh,
able to get the name Bonnie Violet blessed through like a spiritual ceremony with a church in Chicago, and it kind of came through like last minute for me, and so like I didn't do a good job of like inviting people.
I think
Um,
I saw you mention it on Facebook, but wasn't sure what you were talking about.
yeah, so I mean that's not really a great invitation. Make a Facebook post and then
Ah, that's
like
all
you know
good.
what I mean. So there were a couple of folks I was able to connect with, and they showed up, but it was a cool opportunity just to like publicly like declare like my name, and then also to have like the church and God present, and like blessing that this like new labeling of my life. There's
Mm,
a lot of people in the Bible who have, they change their names once something kind of, changes within them. Like Paul and Saul and all that sort of stuff. And so for me, I feel like it was, and there were other folks there that were doing name changes because they got married or maybe they got reacquainted with biological parents or trans folks, gender nonconforming folks. There were a lot of, I guess, reasons why people might change their name.
yeah, yeah. So, did you have an encounter that where God changed your name? I, I'm just
Yeah, I mean,
curious. Sorry, my nose is running a little bit.
yeah, no, a big part of my trans identity, I think, has really come to my connection with God. I think until I got sober and until I started like having a relationship with God again, and knowing that God loves me and is a part
Mm,
of my creation and endorses all of this and how I show up in the world. And so I feel like, yeah, I mean, I totally feel like this is a way of me finally liberating myself, and my relationship with God has been a huge process, a huge part of that for me. If I didn't have a relationship with God, higher power, like however way, sometimes changes what I call it. But like the fact that I'm seeking it continues to help me liberate myself, because a lot of my challenge with life is my own doing to some degree, or my inability to move on or move past or work through some things.
Well, I just want to let you know that every day I pray that as you seek after God, that you'll find him. So that's encouraging.
I already have. Like, yeah, I mean, like I feel like, like God's always there and always been there. It's just whether or not I have the ability, the intention to like see and connect with it.
You're right. Because God is bigger, and he wants to be bigger and bigger and bigger in our lives. And the only way we can do that is to seek him, and then be willing that as we seek him, if he requires a change, be willing to walk through that process. Because sometimes we aren't willing. And so we settle outside of some of those things that God would be more than happy to make available to us. So that's exciting. That's a good way to start 2021. To be seeking
right?
after God for all that he has for you. Yay.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been really great.
Amazing. Well, now I'm thinking, now what am I doing? Like, okay.
What are you doing?
Oh my goodness. I'm so blessed. Business closed last year for me with COVID, and don't feel bad for me, because it was a promotion in my mind. I felt like God was just moving me in a new direction so that I can take on some new things. One of those things is being able to be here with you every week, which I have loved. And I'm excited that we get to continue on. But yeah, I've been loving on people in a way that I had never thought I could before. I've been giving people a ride somewhere, delivering some groceries once in a while. My husband and I have been working on some projects together. So it's been really, really awesome. So my prayer going into 2021 is that I would also, like you, be able to seek God and understand more of who he is, and allow him to change me and make me a more kind and loving person, which is what I want to be. So yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I can't even say. Right. I'll just share a little more personal, maybe. I listen to a lot of Christian music, and I was at church yesterday, and there's a song that I know and I love, and it just clicked. You know how when you just you know it, and then something just clicks and it changes in the moment.
Yep.
Well, I'm not going to try to sing, because y'all would be turned off your
we don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that. Just take my word for it. But it said God's presence is an open door. And I'm like, oh my goodness, God's presence. So God's presence is all around us. And as a Christian, I believe God's presence lives inside me. So there's always an open door. And I'd never thought about that. But then the next stanza is, and Lord, I want you more than ever before. So that's my prayer, that as I am allowed to walk through an open door, that I would desire God more and more. And so I don't know what that looks like. And I believe that this right here may be a part of it, but I'm just very excited about that. So it sounds like we're kind of on the same track here.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think we're at similar parts of similar and different, right? Like, I mean, I think ultimately we're both looking to like grow and expand our understanding of ourselves and people different from ourselves. So I think that we're like kind of in a similar journey in that aspect. But I do think that like we each hold our own experience, and like I feel like you're further along in a lot of ways than I am in some things, and and that's true for me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. Well, isn't that part of the fun though? The journey together. Our differences fill us in different ways. If we were exactly the same, and we'd have a harder time, I think, working together on things. And I just love the fact that we learn so much from one another, because we both decided to be open to being taught new things that we hadn't considered. And so for me personally, that's been really, I think it has helped me to get to a new position in life and a new opportunity so that I can understand God's presence. So, yeah. So I think that's all amazing.
and one of the things, I mean, there's been a lot of things happening. Like, we have a new president. There was, like insurrection. There has been a lot of things happening that have been, very, a lot of things really happening. And I noticed,
not just in our houses, you mean all over the place.
right. Yeah. And I noticed that, I feel like I approached things a little differently. I think I was impacted by things a little bit differently since we've been in relationship with each other, and since we started doing the podcast. As far as like, I think I am more willing to kind of get the sense of what's on the other side of this, or like what's the why behind this, rather than kind of like passing a judgment. Obviously, like there are things that aren't great to happen or should happen or whatever, but really kind of like looking at, I guess just, widening the lens of looking at things.
Yeah. I totally get it. I've had to, this whole thing, and I don't know if you're talking about anything in particular, because there's so much happening right now. We're talking about things like coronavirus and vaccines. We're talking about the inauguration and all the crazy that's going on there. We're talking about impeachment of a president who's already out of office. All these things, in addition to just the normal day-to-day stuff that's happening in our communities. And it's a lot to take in. I have to be honest, I kind of been not listening to the news much lately. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it sure has allowed me a little bit of peace through all this. But I will say the conversations are still there. When I do have those brief moments to get together with someone, be it online or even in person a little bit, because they're in my little circle of people that we connect with once in a while, those topics come up, and it's a challenge, and it does challenge my identity. And my identity is Christian, and that's my main identity. And these other titles that I choose to take, it's very important for me as a Christian to be who I am, no matter what other titles that I have, mine that I give myself, or that other people may give me. So that I have found has been very different from a lot of people that I'm doing life with.
Yeah. Well, I would agree. I think that like having the tool of like God or spirituality has really helped me to approach those things differently. And in some ways, I think it makes it easier. I don't want to say, it just kind of makes it easier to come to a response and maybe even an opinion or a decision, because it's like, I'm listening to everything, but that's not telling me what I need to do. Like I'm looking within myself, and I'm connecting with God and my spirituality. And then that is informing me on how would my best self respond to somebody who is acting this way or believes this way that I think might be different than what I would like to see. But like, how would I don't know. I just like really challenging myself of like, what would God have me do in this situation?
Oh, that's a good reference point. What would God have us do in this situation? And I think that it's important. I unfortunately, I don't always ask myself that question first, and I tend to get myself in hot water.
No, totally.
But, I recently had a conversation about the vaccinations. The vaccinations are kind of a becoming, a hot topic. I've had all different kinds across the board conversations with people. Some people are all in; they're going, and they can't wait to get there, and they want to do it, and they're frustrated they can't get their second round and all that stuff. I have people that are waiting to see what happens before they go forward, because they don't want to be part of the statistic of, oh, that's all because of the shot.
Right.
Whatever that is. Then you have people that are just like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. And you get all these different ideas or all these different conversations about what any of those, positions, how it may affect as a whole. And so I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be happening in the culture around us, or in our culture around us, that are going to be affected by all these decisions and
Right.
these choices that people are making.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, I'm not sure that there's just one right choice.
Mm. I don't think there usually is.
Yeah.
You know, I often like the idea that there's a third option. You know, I feel like a lot of the times we're presented with like this or that.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes maybe it's not this or that. Maybe it's this, maybe it's a whole nother thing, or maybe it's this and that, there might be an and in there as well.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I did hear this. There's a third shot that I hadn't heard about until recently. Have you heard about that one? I think
uh,
it's, I want to say Johnson and Johnson.
I don't know. I know that they're working on a one shot, like where you just get one shot.
That's the one, but it's
Yeah.
not as effective as the others. But from what I understand, sorry, my chair's in control. It expands over time so that your immune
Mm,
system gets stronger and stronger. And it may
mm,
not keep you from getting it, but it'll keep you from getting to the point where you have to go to the hospital. So it'll be a less
mm.
severe case. I'm thinking, okay. So we've
Right.
got the whole spectrum here. So it's just been interesting, that whole
Yeah.
process. I never know what to say to people when they're talking about it.
Right.
I'm
Well,
far down that list, so I don't need to worry yet to make a decision. So
yeah.
I'm partly happy that I get to kind of be an observer for a little bit, and see what's going on before I have to make that decision.
Yeah, it's been nice. And one of the things that I think I expected is like, because often as much as I want to try to like be around different people and stuff, you still kind of often find yourself around people similarly to you. And there's like these expectations that then, oh, everybody on my side of the fence wants a vaccine. And that's just not the case. Like I've had a variety of conversations with folks who I would have maybe assumed would be all about getting the vaccination. A person living with HIV who is gay, living in San Francisco, who's like, no, I don't feel comfortable with that yet. I don't know that there's enough information,
I've been
or,
hearing that too.
yeah. And I had a conversation with a family member who had opted not to get it done. And I, I automatically kind of had a response, and I think my initial assumption is like, you've bought into the lies on the other, like, or whatever, and I, like, there's a thought of like, no, I just want you to make sure you're making an informed decision. And it was like, the reality of was she'd already made an informed decision. She had
Yeah,
already thought about, okay, like these are the pluses, these are the minuses, this is my likelihood of risk, this is all my risk prior to now. It's like, so I maybe still didn't necessarily like say yay, because the reality is I'm scared of that person because that person's valuable to me. I don't want them to die and I don't want them to get sick. So, and for some reason, I might think the vaccine might help that, and I don't know that, but I think that's what my initial thought was like, no, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to die. And that wasn't really what was necessarily going on, but that was definitely what I was thinking. But it still does play a role in whether or not I visit. Like I may choose not to visit until maybe I'm vaccinated or things are just a little bit more different.
right. Now, how did that conversation go? Did you guys have a conversation about how you felt about it, or did you just kind of let that slide?
Yeah, well, and I
Don't
like,
share
I feel
anything
like,
you don't want to share. It's
no,
totally
it
fine.
feels weird to not be talking, like saying who the person is, but
Uh,
I don't know that she'd be okay with that. So, but this person was offered a vaccine at work and just had mentioned, yeah, they offered to have us get vaccinated. I opted not to get mine done. And so then I was like, oh, why aren't you getting it done? And so she kind of explained, well, I just don't think I need to get it done. I've been probably exposed to it a number of times. I haven't gotten it yet. My coworkers have, and I don't, just this sort of stuff. And well, actually the first comment was something like, well, I don't want the disease. I don't want even a little bit of COVID put into me for a vaccine. I was like, well, not the vaccination. I mean, that's not one of the vaccinations that's out right now. It's actually, it doesn't actually work that way. And then we were able to talk a little bit more, and then she shared more of kind of the other aspects. It's not usually just one element that does that. And so it was helpful just to have that conversation with her. And then, and I told her, I was like, straight up, I'm like, you are a grown ass woman and like, you are going to make your own decision. But like, I just feel like I need to say that if I were in your position, I would totally get vaccinated, if I were you. And I was like, and then I'm not like, and I just left it at that. Like, I didn't push it. I didn't even try to like,
well, that's good.
I don't know. I just said what I felt like I wanted to say, and then left it at that.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think that what you just shared with all of us is a way to have a hard conversation in a loving fashion where you can have a difference of opinion and no one be offended. That's beautiful. And that's kind of how our relationship started, was both of us deciding to do that. And now look at us. We can talk about stuff that's hard.
Right. Yeah.
and be okay being one another without having to control the other person's thoughts, desires, or whatever. So that's amazing.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm not in a position to decide whether I get, I haven't been offered or have access to a vaccine right now. So like, it's not necessarily a decision that I personally need to make.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know where I would be at with that. Because one of the other things that I was thinking about too, it's like, I was thinking about when did my openness to vaccines and that sort of like healthcare, because I didn't grow up going to the doctor. Like you went to the doctor when you were like, blood was coming out of somewhere, or like
cut off. Yeah.
Exactly. So like we didn't just go to the doctor, and we didn't get vaccinate. Like we just didn't do we didn't not do those things, I think, but we just didn't, it just wasn't part of like our growing up.
Do you remember, I don't know if you guys did this, if your mom did this, but our mom did this. When we'd get sick, we'd get like potatoes in our socks or onions in our whatever, or some sort of broth to drink, or liquid Jello to eat. So those were the things. We didn't go to the doctor. We had all these home remedies, and it's kind of silly. Some of those things are actually, I think, pretty good, because I used some of those as an adult. But I was like, wow, when I went out on my own, I didn't even know how to go about doing that.
Yeah.
So it was like weird. So I get it.
I feel like, we learned about, like getting ibuprofen and taking sinus pills and, like going to the doctor when you have to, but there wasn't a lot of that. And so and if I don't think if I would have gotten infected with HIV, well, for me, that's what did it for me, because I had to then go to a doctor, and I had to rely on the medical, community to get medication and to do what I needed to do to prevent from dying, because it felt more like in my like it was going to happen. I also was 20, I was young, so I didn't want to die. So I needed to, I don't know. It was just I realized that now that I've been in it for 20 years or whatever, and I've been doing disease prevention and all that, I have a different understanding of why it's important, what it's not important. Also maybe a realistic expectation of how good it's going to be, or what problems might come from it. That sort of thing.
Isn't that amazing? Knowledge is really can be power. What you didn't know, you didn't know. But now that it's like, okay, this is something that I need to prioritize for myself and for the people that I care about.
Yeah. Well,
so that's awesome.
I think the other element that sometimes is it's very me focused, because that's what I have power over, but how much of my decisions are how they impact the people around me. And I feel like that's sometimes the nuanced or the claim that people want to use against the other. Oh, well, you're only caring about yourself, or, you're, I don't know, you know what I mean? Rather than you're only thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the community or that sort of thing.
you know, I don't know if we want to go too deep into all this.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
But
the best thing that we can do in any situation is focus on ourselves. If we take care of ourselves and do ourselves, then
you're right. I
like,
agree. 'Cause ourselves are the only thing that we really can change.
right.
And so I totally agree with you. So I'm not going to say those other thoughts just because I don't think they're valuable. Not because I don't think we should have the but they're just not valuable right now. So,
Right, right.
but I think you're right. The only control we have is over ourselves. So it doesn't do me any good to try to tell someone else or make someone else do anything, because that's it. I have learned, though, that if I can control who I am and be willing to change and adjust, that those adjustments usually require a change or an adjustment from the people around me. And so that's when I can really have an opportunity to affect someone else's life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. And I think as we do that, our target should always be kindness and love and hope and all those things that our world right now is so thirsty for.
Yeah.
And so if I can help myself to be kinder, help myself to be more loving, and show that, it's just like I had said the other day, our testimony is not just what we say out of our mouth, it's how we live our lives. And they need to be one. They need to be the same. So that's cool. So, hey, thank you for sending me the poem from the inauguration. I
What
had
do you
not
think?
taken the time to watch the inauguration. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But in the middle of the day for me, it's really hard. And I had heard that this amazing young woman wrote this poem and that she was going to be at the Super Bowl, which I don't usually watch either.
Right.
So because I was able to listen to that, I might actually log into the Super Bowl, at least for halftime, and hear her new poem. So that was beautiful.
Just for the poem. Yeah, it's the first time that a poem will be read at the Super Bowl. And then a lot of jokes in the gay world is that the Super Bowl is actually like, it's the halftime show. So it's like a Lady Gaga concert, or it's a Arrow, like whatever it is, it's really more about the the halftime show than the
That's
game.
true. That's all I ever watched for. When I go to Super Bowl parties, the commercials and the halftime show. During the game, I'm out doing whatever.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it was always about the commercials, what new commercial is going to come out, and who's performing.
Did you hear that a lot of those companies that didn't buy commercials this year are helping with the spread of the vaccines, so that those vaccines can be given out? I heard that Budweiser and Coca-Cola and some of those companies have decided to pool their sources and make sure that these areas can be opened up so people can get their vaccines.
You froze up.
You
froze up there for a second. I couldn't hear you.
I said I had heard on the news one of the times I was listening that I think it was Budweiser and Coca-Cola had pooled their resources instead of buying advertisement. That they were going to make sure to put those pools together so they could support the vaccination, open up more places where people can get vaccinated. I think that's a great use of those dollars, rather than me watching some crazy thing on the Super Bowl. So that was good news. I thought that was great news.
Yeah, it can kind of seem kind of gross how much money is spent on some things when there's things happening over here that are like seem probably a little bit more dire,
For sure. That was definitely an example of how they can affect themselves, how a change that they can make in themselves or a decision they can make for themselves can affect the people around them. So that definitely did. They're going to spend that money. They already decided they're going to move that money and affect people around them. So I think that's pretty awesome. So I'll be buying more Coke products. So that'd be great.
Awesome.